Welcome to Poole Stadium for our fourth instalment here on Pirate Videos. At the end of our last edition, we saw the Pirates being pushed to their closest result so far of the season here at Wimborne Road with a 3-point victory over the Peterborough Panthers. That was enough to keep them on top of the Elite League. But join us now for our next 3 home matches as the boys dispense with the Elite League A schedule and move into the second half of their campaign for the playoffs. Yes, tonight does mark a milestone in the Pirates season as they embark on their first Elite League B fixture of the year. Well, it doesn't mean that they're quite halfway through the year, of course, because the corresponding A fixture for the Bees was rained off earlier this year, and the Ipswich Witches have yet to come to Poole. But the season is marching on apace, and Pirates are still on top of the pile.
Absolutely, it was a very tough meeting, and I'm over the moon that we are still, you know, sat up high at this point in time. I mean, it's going to get harder from, you know, here on in, and you know, we've had the luxury of having Antonio reserve. That all changes this week, of course, and you know, now the boys who haven't been performing have got to show their true worth.
I've got to say that for the Pirates, it's probably been one of the best starts they could have possibly made. You must be happy about that. But I'm sure that's tempered with a great deal of sadness, of course, over losing Tony.
Oh, tremendous. I mean, you know, it truly was a shock. I mean, we found out just before the season started, just before press day, that there was a problem. And, you know, Tony then changed his mind and said on press day, no, I'm going to stay, I'm going to do the season. And he was more worried about burnout at that point in time. He felt that, you know, to actually achieve a whole racing, a whole year's speedway, that with his English calendar as it was just a case that he would be flying in and out and feeling very tired. I think it's easier when you're in your young, early 20s, and then when you're 30 plus, and I think Tony was 32, 33, that it was getting a little bit more difficult for him, and you know, he needed a couple of extra hours sleep, I think, and in all honesty, that's really the truth of it. It's a great shame. He hasn't gone for good. I'm absolutely convinced of that. You know, I think that if we were to run squad systems next year, and I think there's a very good possibility of that, because we can't have the likes of Hampel, Carlson, Golub, you know, Hamill, and etc. And Tony now, of course, we really do need them in our sport. So, and they've got to be riding here.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I've got to say that you moved very swiftly, though, and signed out a first-class performer in Ryan Sullivan to take Tony's place, if anyone can even do that. But nonetheless, that was a great signing, very shrewd one. Was that an easy task?
Well, it was easy, and the reason it was easy is that I've got to say that before the season started, we were planning ahead to next year, and I really have a gut feeling, and it's only a gut feeling because it's it's my opinion that the grading system probably will only last one season. That's my opinion. That there's other promoters love it. I'm 50-50. I believe in its merits in some points, and in other parts, for example, we've got a situation shortly where we're rider replacement for a rider who's missing on a couple of matches, which affects us badly. And they're 2 matches away from home that we won in the A fixtures, and I've got to be honest and say that I think we'd be lucky to win the B fixtures because it's this grading system does affect you, and it's Ryan. Sorry to go back to your point, is outstanding, and I did speak to Ryan in November, last November, about coming to Poole on a more permanent basis, and it happened a little quicker than I imagined in the end, and a little quicker than he imagined. But I've got to say, Poole was his first choice of clubs that he wanted to come to, and he would have been happy to have gone to Coventry also, who he rates the promotion highly and knows he get paid and things. So it matters to these boys. But he's settling in well. He's a superb rider, fantastic rider. I think that had we been working with him 2 or 3 weeks earlier, I think he would be sat up near the top of the GP now. I don't think that first one would have caught him cold, and I can just see him improving and improving. I don't know if he'll win it this year, but I'm absolutely convinced he'll win it next.
Finally, and I've got to say, you are shrewd in what you've done and the way in which you've signed riders and made progress with the Pirates, and they've proved that out on the track. Have you been surprised by that?
I think what I'm really pleased with is, unfortunately you have the dreadful injury with Krzysztof Cegielski, who would have been an absolute, legend in Speedway, and that's hard for us all to take, that we've lost an asset so great as Krzysztof, and I don't know if Chris will ever ride again, in all honesty. I think that seeing the World Championship qualify next week with Thomas Szymanowski and Hans Andersen, Antonio Lindback, David Rood all in the same round, 4 Poole riders, that's what gives me great pleasure, is to actually see that the young guys that we're signing are now all in World Championship semi-finals, and they're really moving on. So Tony at 33 and Lee Adams at 32 and Sully at 29 and Crumpy at 29 and Golub 32, 33. These guys are all getting older, and the 18, 19-year-olds, and we've got the best of them, and that's what really makes me happy. On track with the Poole team this year, we're not doing bad, are we? We're a long way from winning anything yet. We've had 12 matches out of 36, and then we've got to go in the playoffs. And I think that unquestionably, I think we'd be naive to think we'd go through the season winning every match at home. I think we will get beat, and let's be aware of it. It is very hard to win all your matches, but we'll just keep doing what we're doing. I think that they're a good team, and they're not the stars that we had last year, but incredibly that team got beat at home, and this team hasn't yet. So we'll see what happens, but we'll be there and thereabouts.
Absolutely, as ever, the changing complexion of Speedway, and that is all around us all the time, but certainly a great start.
Yeah, we've still got 1 or 2 tricks up our sleeve yet as well. Everybody else is making their changes now to become stronger. Well, we'll just see what happens, but we're all right.
Well, as usual, Matt Ford is cautious yet optimistic about his Pirates. But how about the team, knowing as they do that they've held on to their place at the top of the table?
Yeah, that's right. But that was a tough meeting, but I think we are up for it today. And there was a few riders of us that struggling last week, and finger crossed we can get it together and do a full-man team job this week.
It was a bit out of the blue, I've got to say, last week, because the pressure was really on the Pirates. They did respond in the end, but they really left it till the last moment.
That's right. We should have done it earlier, but that's Speedway, Sometimes you have a bad meeting, and we were lucky that Antonio and the other lads did a good meeting. So and Daniel Davidsson had a good one as well, so they kept it up for us.
I guess at this stage it is the reserves which are so important, and of course when the team changes, that could see them coming up into the heat leader positions.
That's right, but I think with Antonio and that he's the one that's moving up for us, and I don't think it's going to make a major difference for him, because he's such a good rider, and I think he's still going to go out there and beat a lot of the good riders. So of course he have done a good job at the reserve spot, but I think Davey WATT, when he's moving down, he's going to find himself scoring a bit more points as well. So fingers crossed that works out.
Well, certainly we look forward to that, and that'll do David an awful lot of good as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, we know how important the reserves are in the Poole team, and Daniel Davidsson, I've got to say, last week was fantastic once again, and you were voted man of the match.
Yeah, it was good last week, and it's always good to be voted man of the match. It gives you some extra confidence.
I know that we've seen you having some good matches, and they've been interspersed with ones that you've been disappointed with, but in general, do you feel now that you're really getting to grips with it?
Yeah, I hope so. As long as the track stays the way I want it, I think I've found the setup for it. But the problem, I still struggle when it gets a bit slicker, and I still have to work on that.
And now, of course, you're beginning to visit more and more of the away tracks. I think you've virtually seen all of the tracks that you've got to go to do this year?
Yeah, that feels good, really good too. Because it's always a bit worrying when you go to a place first time, but now we've been to all of them without Bellevue. So now it's getting better.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll see more of the same sort of form that we saw last week. The best of luck, and great stuff.
Thank you.
Well, right here we're with a young group of people, and one of them very well known, but Joshua and Connor are the winners of the competition in the programme, which has allowed them to interview a rider. And Antonio, I've got to say, you were their chosen rider. Antonio, did you enjoy being interviewed by Joshua and Connor?
Yeah, it was fun. They were really good, and they're always fun to be interviewed with these people. So.
And how about you guys? Is it nice to come in here and see these guys at work?
Yeah. Yeah.
You obviously enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Well, because of those youngsters, we've had to queue up to speak to Antonio tonight, but now it's our turn. Antonio, I've got to say that once again the form has been fantastic, and we're looking forward to seeing you moving up into the heat leaders.
Yeah, I hope so. I didn't believe it coming so fast, so I should go up to like a heat leader, but that's fun. I'm coming to do my best when I come there. So.
You really have got the Poole track taped, as it were. You've got that under your belt, and you've also got a lot of the away tracks under your belt now as well.
Yeah, I have tried now really many tracks here in England, and I like to go on the most of the tracks. Of course, I have still a little problem on the big tracks like Swindon, but I hope I can do a better result there when I come in there to next time. So.
Well, I have to say that the COVENTRY Bees have really suffered this year, and with their away travels and at their home matches, they've won but one match so far in their campaign. Well, as they line up on the starting grid now for the start of this Elite League B fixture, the first of the season, then I'm going to hand you over to Graham and Rob over there on the tower.
Here we go for race number 1 with Jason Lyons and Bjarne PEDERSEN, Chris Harris and Andreas JONSSON. Andreas JONSSON straight into the first bend from Jason Lyons. Chris Harris on the inside line. The Bees holding a 5-1 after the first bend with Andreas JONSSON in the lead. Chris Harris tucking in second place. Bjarne PEDERSEN, it moves into third place, having had the difficult gate 4 position. But the Bees currently bottom of the league, starting off with a 5-1 against top of the table Poole Pirates, and with half the race gone, a bit of team riding there from Andreas JONSSON and Chris Harris, leaving the Pirates duo struggling at the back. Bjarne PEDERSEN trying to get into closer order from on Chris Harris in the yellow helmet, but the two Bees with a lap to go look pretty comfortable here in the opening race, and Andreas JONSSON's going to scorch through 3 points. Looks very much as if Chris Harris is going to join him in second place. Half a lap to go. Pirates have conceded a 5-1 here, although Chris Harris nearly overcooks it, gets out of shape on turn 3, but recovers well to hold on to the Bees. Morale boosting 5-1. They've not had a good run of results lately. Pirates, on the other hand, have made a habit of making things difficult for themselves in racing, and that was another example there. 5-1 in the opening race to the Bees. On we go then to race number 2. Can the Pirates immediately claw back that 4-point disadvantage they incurred in Heat 1? They've got Antonio Lindback in the red helmet on grid 1. Stevenson in the white or whitish strip. Don't know how long they're going to stay that colour, but especially with him being on gate 4 in the opening race. But we'll see. Will he be a secret weapon for the Bees tonight, or will the Pirates claw back the 4 points? We're about to see, as the two Pirates indeed do get a very sharp start, and it's Antonio Lindback with his partner Daniel Davidsson, shutting out the quite robust early challenge there from Jason Bunyan, and they're moving into a potential 5-1 advantage. So, bit of team riding. We saw this against Peterborough in the early stages of the match here 7 days ago, and Pirates certainly made hard work of that, but this time you see there taking a good look around to see where his opposition rider is. That's Antonio Lindback. Is probably his last match for the Pirates before he gets promoted further up the order, with the new averages about to be declared, and Antonio Lindback could go from reserve straight up to the #1 race jacket. Such is his prolific point scoring power in the early stages of the season. So a little wheelie across the line. Antonio decides that he'd rather like the 3 points there. Daniel Davidsson more than happy to concede, having had the benefit of 4 laps of immaculate team riding. So Pirates immediately cancel out that early 5-1 reversal, moving the scoreline on to Poole Pirates 6 points, Coventry Bees 6 points.
Come on in the home straight. Let's have the flanks are easy. Or Antonio back in Daniel Davidsson.
So with the match all square after 2 early exchanges, which way is it going to go here in race number 3? Well, it could go either way, such as the nature of the team structure so far this season. We've got Davey WATT in the blue helmet on grid 2 for the Pirates, joined by the skipper, Magnus ZETTERSTROM, on grid 4. Interesting opposition in the shape of Stuart ROBSON, currently the #3 in the Coventry lineup, and very young Danish rider, Morten RISAGER. He's in the yellow helmet on grid 3. Away they go then, and that's a pretty good start there from the rider in green. That's Stuart ROBSON, immediately takes the lead. But Davey WATT on the outside, determined to have a good match tonight, and he goes around the outside line, but unfortunately for the Pirates, it's the Coventry rider, Stuart ROBSON, who seems to get the advantage. And not only that, the #4, Morten RISAGER, comes through. Magnus ZETTERSTROM struggling at the back, and Davey WATT there looking as if he's making no immediate progress. Very reminiscent of his form 7 days ago. There's a badly firing bike somewhere amongst the proceedings. Can't quite work out where it is, but with a lap and a bit to go, it looks like Coventry are going to strike out with another 5-1. They probably would not have expected it from this pairing, but nevertheless, Stuart ROBSON with a sick bike is comfortably in the lead. Morten RISAGER in second place. I think it's probably his first look at the track here. Very comfortable in second. Magnus ZETTERSTROM, a very disappointing third from him. And Davey WATT, even more disappointing, doesn't even complete the race, pulls up, and he scores a proverbial nil point, which is very much reminiscent of 7 days ago when he had 3 ducks from 3 outings. So a bit of hope there for the bottom of the table boys, the Commentator Bees, who now lead by 11 points to 7. So once again, the Pirates find themselves staring down the barrel of a 4-point arrears as we go on to race 4, where they track Daniel Davidsson in the blue helmet on grid 2, and Ryan Sullivan, complete with new Kevlars, Rias Pirates Kevlars, after a couple of weeks waiting for those to come through. Looking the complete Pirate now. He's got Grand Prix opposition in the shape of Andreas JONSSON, already with a win under his belt in race 1. Ryan is on the difficult gate 4. Previous races, the outside has not generated too many points so far. Ryan, of course, had that machinery problem late on in the Peterborough match 7 days ago, causing him to pull out of the a potential place in the nominated riders' heat. Fortunately, of course, Bjarne PEDERSEN and Antonio Lindback did the business for the Pirates. So, completing the lineup then, Seamond STEPHENS, who's on grid 1, and he had a pointless first ride. He's going to have his work cut out this time, and be intriguing to see how he matches up with Daniel Davidsson, and of course the 2 Grand Prix riders, Andreas and Ryan, will be expected to contest the major spoils. Up go the tapes then. Good start from Ryan Sullivan on 4, but not good enough. as Andreas JONSSON sweeps wide into the first bend. Ryan Sullivan tries a switch back under. Daniel Davidsson moves into third place ahead of Seamond STEPHENS, and Andreas JONSSON, with a lap gone, looks as if he's pretty comfortable out in front. Ryan Sullivan is chasing him down, but I think he might find it rather a difficult proposition. Andreas JONSSON has often shown a liking for this track in the past, and he could be about to make it 2 races and 2 wins for the Bees and keep their noses in front in the early stages by 11 points to 7. So Pirates potentially got their work cut out tonight against the bottom of the table team, and with a lap to go, Andreas JONSSON pulling further and further away from Ryan Sullivan, with Daniel Davidsson comfortably third, Seamond STEPHENS trailing somewhat distantly at the back of the field. Half a lap to go then, a drawn race it's going to be, as Andreas JONSSON takes the checkered flag, and a drawn race gives the Pirates 10 points, but it takes the Bees in the lead on to 14. So here we are, facing up to race 5 with Poole's rather down on power pairing of Magnus ZETTERSTROM and Davey WATT, judging by their Heat 3 performance. Can they do better on gates 1 and 3 this time? Magnus ZETTERSTROM is in the red helmet from 1, and Davey WATT on grid 3 in the blue helmet. Chris Harris for the Bees, number 2 in yellow, is joined by rider replacement for the injured Billy Gennaro, and that's Stuart ROBSON. Up go the tapes, and away goes Magnus ZETTERSTROM, a bit better this time, and Davey WATT stuck in there, had a good start from gate 3, but unfortunately already the rider in yellow, Chris Harris, has passed Magnus ZETTERSTROM, and Stuart ROBSON has got the better of Davey WATT. So once again, the Pirates pairing here, 3 and 4 pairing in the middle order, not looking particularly powerful, and indeed, Stuart ROBSON comes through to relegate Magnus ZETTERSTROM into third place, and the Pirates now looking at, incredibly, an 8-point gap, an 8-point arrears to the Coventry Bees, and potentially use of the tactical ride. Well, this is really something that was totally unforeseen, but unfortunately Magnus ZETTERSTROM and Davey WATT in their second race are just not cutting the mustard here this evening. Davey WATT struggled to get his bike ready for this one because of a broken saddle, but it doesn't appear to be the reason for his trailing off at the back. I think it's more down to the fact that the Bees really did get the bit between their teeth, with Chris Harris in yellow and Stuart ROBSON in green. A fine 5-1 scoreline, would you believe it? 11 to the Pirates, 19 to the Bees. On we go then to race 6, and any more of a margin behind the Bees would be unthinkable here, but we've got Andreas JONSSON in the green helmet on grid 1 for the Bees, so that immediately strikes a note of warning for the Wimborne Road faithful here. We've got Jason Lyons on gate 2 and Bjarne PEDERSEN in the... That's the other way around, I think. Yeah, we've got Bjarne PEDERSEN on gate 2 in the blue helmet and Jason Lyons on gate 4 in the red. Good measure. We've got Jason Bunyan for the Bees, and with an 8-point margin between the two, remarkably in the Bees' favour. Let's see what the Pirates can do in race number 6. Away they go, and Andreas JONSSON seems to have had a good gate, but not as good as Bjarne PEDERSEN, who comes way out of grid 2, but Andreas JONSSON catches him on a fine pitch turn there, sneaking up the inside when Bjarne PEDERSEN must have thought that he'd done the hard work, but Jason Bunyan, surprisingly there, cutting through to relegate Jason Lyons back into 4th spot. The Bees really are fighting like crazy here this evening. You would not have put money on Jason Bunyan getting a place, but they're going to take a 4-2 heat advantage if this the position at the halfway stage remains, and that would mean a 10-point arrears for the Pirates against the bottom of the table team. Well, such are the unpredictabilities of Speedway, but got Andreas JONSSON out in the lead with a lap to go. Bjarne PEDERSEN coming back at him strongly. Track's just received a bit of water, and that means that a little bit unpredictable from the earlier races, but it doesn't seem to be affecting Andreas JONSSON, and although Bjarne PEDERSEN challenging strongly on the final turn, he finishes ahead, and Jason Bunyan taking third. Very disappointing there. Jason Lyons, who did get out of the gate but trailed in poorly at the back, and it's 4-2 heat win to the Commentator Bees, who extend their lead now. It's the Pirates 13, Commentator Bees 23. So on to race 7. Incredibly, the Pirates 10 points in arrears at this approximately halfway stage of the proceedings, and Neil Middleditch having to resort to nominating a tactical ride, and somewhat ignominious move there from the Poole team manager, but Ryan Sullivan it is who comes out on gate 1 with the black and white helmet colour, and he'll be joined by his partner Antonio Lindback in the blue helmet on grid 3. Bees got their tails up. Well, perhaps we should say, so far this evening, they had a sting in the tail because they're 10 ahead, and Stuart Robson with a win and a paid win from his 2 outings will be feeling fairly confident here. And let's see if that confidence is well founded. Stuart pairs up with the young Dane Morten RISAGER. They were 5-1 winners last time out. They're going to find the opposition a little stiffer this time. Nevertheless, the Pirates, with it all to do, could conceivably get an 8-1, which would narrow the deficit dramatically to 3 points. But these points have to be earned, and first of all we've got Ryan Sullivan passed from the gate into the lead, but the 2 Bees finished second and third, and in fact Morten RISAGER comes up the inside of Ryan Sullivan there. Ryan Sullivan on the outside, RISAGER on the inside, shuts the door up the straight, and the young Dane here has not heard of any of these riders, and they mean nothing to him. The Bees holding a 4-2 advantage, or it's a 4-4 draw, as Ryan Sullivan not making too much impression on RISAGER. This would be absolutely remarkable, but fortunately for the Pirates, Antonio Lindback does superbly round the Coventry number 3 rider Stuart Robson, but it still needs Ryan Sullivan with 1 lap to go to try and capitalise on his tactical ride outing, but it doesn't look as if he's going to do it. RISAGER, with his first meeting here at Poole, is going to take a race win. Absolutely sensational for the young Dane. I think he's only 16 or 17 years of age, but he's grown in stature tremendously. What an absolutely superb ride. The Bees are really making a fight of it this evening. And Peter Oates, their new joint team manager, is highly excited in the pits there, because with that win it means that the Pirates have to suffer a 5-3 heat win instead of an 8-1 which they had hoped for. RISAGER, absolute trump card so far in the Bees camp, and with that 5-3 the scoreline does narrow, but it's still 8 points with the Pirates on 18 and the Bees on 26. Well, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Neil Middleditch is once again in the second race on the trot, electing a tactical ride. This time it's the rider in formerly in blue, now in black and white, Bjarne PEDERSEN, who's on grid 3. So Pirates' hopes pinned on him. They're still 8 in arrears. It's 18 points to 26. The scorelines remarkably at the halfway stage. Daniel Davidsson in the blue helmet goes from grid 1. And we've got unbeaten rider for the Bees, Chris Harris, in green on grid 4, and his partner, Seamond STEPHENS, in the yellow helmet, going from grid 2. And oh dear, it looks now as if Bjarne PEDERSEN's in bike trouble. And oh dear, I think there's been a shout for a bike from the pits. Bjarne PEDERSEN rushing back. Looks as if it's going to be a bike that Jason Lyons is just warming up, because there's no time to do anything else about it. Bjarne PEDERSEN rushing back. His bike is obviously, I don't think he's going to make it. Oh, he's out on the timer. So really the Pirates, it couldn't possibly be worse. It couldn't be worse. Well, there's drama there. Bjarne PEDERSEN bike goes at the start. He's excluded from the restart. I think that could mean that the Pirates' hopes of using a tactical ride goes with it. And the only alternative now is to send for the Pirates' reserve, who is, of course, Antonio Lindback. Well, we'll have to sort this one out, but it's just going from bad to worse as far as the Pirates are concerned. So we've sorted out Heat 8. In fact, Bjarne PEDERSEN excluded under the time allowance, had bike trouble, replaced by the number 6 rider, who comes in red, Antonio Lindback. So Antonio Lindback and Daniel Davidsson for Poole, and that's a good start from Daniel. Antonio joins him around the outside, and Chris Harris back in 3rd place. Is he going to mount a serious challenge here? 2 Pirates currently out in front, but Chris Harris coming up straight past Daniel Davidsson, although Daniel sees him at the last minute and goes sharply into turn 1 and drifts a little wide. Chris Harris playing a game of tactics here. Daniel Davidsson having to cut back on turn 4, and half the race gone. Chris Harris in close order is waiting to pounce on any mistake by Daniel Davidsson. It's Antonio Lindback in the lead, looking round to do some team riding. Chris Harris still there, and with a lap to go, the Pirates desperate for this 5-1 from these two young Swedes. It's Antonio Lindback on the outside. Unfortunately not a tactical ride, only just standard points. And with half a lap to go, there'll be an eruption if the Pirates can get a 5-1 here, halving the deficit. They do indeed. Antonio Lindback and Daniel Davidsson give the Wimborne Road faithfuls something to cheer about in race number 8 with a 5-1. Alas, no tactical ride points. Those have been lost, so Poole have had their 2 races where they can use that advantage. There's still 4 in arrears, but they move on to 23, and COVENTRY Bees on to 27. There's still hope for the Rias Pirates. We see there the shattered pieces of Bjarne PEDERSEN's engine, which caused him to be excluded from Heat 8, and that's just about the measure of the Pirates' luck so far here at Wimborne Road this evening. But we hope that it's only the Bjarne PEDERSEN engine that's been blown to pieces. We hope that that isn't also going to apply to Poole's 100% home record here at Wimborne Road this season. We're about to find out whether the Pirates can do anything more about the 4-point arrears. They've got their work cut out because they've got none other than Andreas JONSSON. 3 races, 3 wins so far. He's on the grid 2 position in green, but we've got Antonio Lindback in for Davey WATT in 1, and Magnus ZETTERSTROM in 3. Completing the lineup, we've got Jason Bunyan on gate 4. Away goes Antonio Lindback, first out of the gate. Drifts and Andreas JONSSON just wide enough, but leaves a gap, and Andreas comes through to say, thank you very much. That's me. I'm out for my 4th win, and I don't think even with Antonio's speed and overtaking prowess they'll be able to do anything about that. What is more concerning at this stage is, with a lap and a half gone, whether Magnus ZETTERSTROM, who's been struggling for power tonight, can hold on to 3rd place behind Antonio Lindback, or whether Jason Bunyan is going to do something about it. He's had 2 lively 3rd places so far. He's struggling a little bit at the back. It looks as if Magnus, at least, although he's had a very disappointing evening, much along the same lines as against Peterborough a week ago, but at least it's damage limitation this time, with Andreas JONSSON well out in front. The 2 Pirates tucked in 2nd and 3rd behind him for a share of the spoils. Half a lap to go, and in the dusty conditions here at Wimborne Road, Andreas JONSSON comfortably around to his 4th win of the night. Could he be the trump card for the Bees in the closing proceedings? We'll have to wait and find out, but at least damage limitation with Antonio Lindback. 3 rides on the trot. It's a lot to ask even of a young fit rider like Antonio, but nevertheless he came up trumps, and it's 3-3. Scoreline then 26 to the Pirates, 30 to the Bees. Well, the Pirates are desperate in Heat 10 here to narrow that 4-point gap even further, and they've got Bjarne PEDERSEN and Jason Lyons to attempt to do it, although both riders are on their number 2 machines. Bjarne because he blew his number 1 motor, as you saw earlier in the proceedings. Jason Lyons because he's failed to get anything from his number 1 bike. 2 last places, very disappointing. Can the switch of machines for both riders rescue the Pirates here? They've got a very lively opposition pairing in the shape of Morten RISAGER in the yellow helmet, with 2 unbeaten rides so far, including that incredible win against Sullivan. And for good measure, we've got Stuart ROBSON, who's got 5 and a bonus from his 3 starts. So not by any means clear-cut as to what could happen in this race, but the Pirates with 1 and 3 would be hoping that will be an advantage. As the tapes go up, away they go, and it's a good start for Bjarne PEDERSEN. Jason Lyons once again gets out of the gate, but lifts badly and allows both of the Bees through on the inside there, and that seems to have been the trouble so far this season. Jason Lyons having problems getting to grips with the track, and he's back in last place, so they're not going to do anything about that lead. Bjarne PEDERSEN out in front, Stuart ROBSON challenging in 2nd, Morten RISAGER 3rd, Jason Lyons struggling at the back in 4th, and he failed to capitalise on a pretty sharp gate by just lifting somewhat, and once he's behind, he's showed that already this evening not able to make very much of an impression. It looks very much the case this time with a lap to go. Bjarne PEDERSEN once again out in front, and Pirates really do seem to be firing only on 4 of their 7 cylinders for the 2nd week running, and I don't know whether the Bees are going to be as relentless here this evening as the Peterborough Panthers a week ago, but nevertheless, that's the checkered flag for Bjarne PEDERSEN. A good ride from him, but minor places going to Stuart ROBSON and the number 4 Morten RISAGER. Jason Lyons once again tracking last place, 29 then to the Pirates, 33 to the Bees. Coming up to a crucial Heat 11 race for the Pirates when two of the 4 riders who are on song this evening, that's Ryan Sullivan and Antonio Lindback, are out on 2 and 4 respectively against the pairing for Coventry of Chris Harris in the yellow helmet going from grid 1 and the rider replacement for the Bees, the sensational young 16-year-old Dane Morten RISAGER, who's in the green helmet on grid 3. Pirates desperate for points here. Ryan Sullivan gets a good gate and comes across on Chris Harris, and is Antonio Lindback going to do the same around the outside? Ryan Sullivan looks over his shoulder and he sees Lindback in second place. This could square it up as we go into half time, and in the yellow helmet Chris Harris and Morten RISAGER right at the back. The Pirates, and a rare sight so far this evening, but seem to be heading for a 5-1. Ryan Sullivan had a fairly quiet evening so far, trailing both Andreas JONSSON and Morten RISAGER in early races, but he's going to certainly turn the tables on the young Dane in this one, because RISAGER right at the back, 2 on the trot, and it looks as if he's quietly at the back behind his partner Chris Harris, and the Pirates pulling further and further away and barring any misfortune, and certainly there's been plenty of that around tonight. It looks as if the Pirates are going around the final bend. They are. This is going to bring the stand to life, because the match is square and there'll be a certain amount of relief in those cheers. There's still 4 races to go. Andreas JONSSON will be in 2 of them, and the Pirates still with riders out of sorts to finish their races. So as the 2 Pirates that time, Ryan Sullivan and Antonio Lindback, come around to take the cheers of the crowd, scoreline moves to Poole 34, Coventry 34. So 4 crucial heats remaining for the Pirates to try and hold on to their unbeaten home record. They're struggling more so than they did against Peterborough a week ago, but it's 34 points apiece, and Neil Biddich's busy tonight. He brings in Antonio Lindback to take the place of out-of-form skipper Magnus ZETTERSTROM. Antonio on grid 2, Daniel Davidsson taking his scheduled ride, his last scheduled ride, he's on grid 4. For the Bees, it's Jason Bunyan on 1 and Stuart ROBSON on 3. So they're just coming into line here. They've had their cups of tea, the track's had a good grade. It is rather dusty and slick this evening, but it could go either way. The match carefully poised, and Antonio Lindback gets a superb ride from grid 2 to lead. But Daniel Davidsson stuck at the back behind the 2 Bees, which is not good news for the Pirates, because there's 1 or 2 weak links in the lineup still to come. But Antonio Lindback is out in front, but being chased there by the rider in green, Stuart ROBSON, who comes through up the inside, but the challenge amounts to nothing, because all Antonio Lindback did there was screw on the throttle even harder, and Jason Bunyan is holding 3rd place with Daniel Davidsson in close order. Antonio Lindback getting a little bit out of shape on the pits turn, but still out in front with a lap to go. Daniel Davidsson, unfortunately, not able to match some of his earlier rides, and he's trailing in 4th spot. Stuart ROBSON really lively in the green helmet. He's making Antonio Lindback go all the way, and he's trying an outside swoop on the last bend. It doesn't pay off. It's only a share of the spoils. Pirates might have hoped for a little more than that, maybe a 4-2, but it wasn't to be. And Jason Bunyan really lively at number 6 tonight, and takes 3rd place, 3 to each side, 37th place, 37 the scoreline. It's all square, 3 to go. 37 points apiece, and a crucial heat 13 with Jason Lyons on the inside in red. And I know he's been doing gear changes, bike changes and all sorts of things. He's just really out of sorts here at Wimborne Road. He is making some reasonable starts, but the first bend is just not coming off, and he's trailing after that, finding it very, very difficult to make ground up on any opposition rider. We're hoping for the Pirates this time that Jason can do something about that, at least with Chris Harris in the green alongside him. Ryan Sullivan goes from grid 3. He's already faced a reversal at the hands of Andreas JONSSON earlier in the proceedings, but Ryan Sullivan has the inside advantage. He's on grid 3, Andreas JONSSON on the wide outside. It's a crucial first bend this time. The two Pirates are away. Jason Lyons gets a good one from gate 1. Ryan Sullivan flies from gate 3 and he's out in front. And the Pirates at this stage of the proceedings are holding a 5-1 with Ryan Sullivan, Jason Lyons. Andreas JONSSON comes up the inside to pass Jason Lyons, and Chris Harris is trailing at the back. So a 4-2 would be damage limitation. No, I don't think there were many in the stadium after his previous races that thought Jason Lyons was going to seriously mount a challenge on Andreas JONSSON. He led him for a lap, but the Swede came through. But what was expected is that Ryan Sullivan, once he got his nose in front, would not allow Andreas JONSSON back in him, and it very much with a lap to go looks like that, fortunately for the Pirates, who for the first time in this whole match we're up to heat 13, and they're actually going to move into a lead, albeit by 2 points only. So with 2 more races to go, the Pirates take a 2-point advantage. A win for Ryan Sullivan, much needed. Andreas JONSSON in second place. Jason Lyons, 3 ducks, but finished with an all-important 3rd place there, shutting off the rider replacement from Chris Harris. And it's a 4-2, making the scoreline with 2 heats remaining. 41 to the Pirates, 39 to the Coventry Bees. The penultimate race then, heat 14. Pirates with their noses just in front by 41 points to 39. And cometh the hour, cometh the man again. Antonio Lindback coming out for his 7th ride of the meeting. What are they going to do when he's no longer down in the reserve position? I really don't know, because it's another rescue act from the young Swede. If he can do something this time. Davey WATT, completely out of sorts this evening as he was 7 days ago, goes in the red helmet from gate 4. Chance to make amends here in heat 14 if he can do something. But the pairing of Morten RISAGER with 4 very promising rides so far in the match, and lively reserve Jason Bunyan means that the Bees mean to compete this time, and they'll be looking to restrict the Pirates. Pirates will be looking desperately for a 4-2 so that they can get ahead, and Davey WATT does get a good start from gate 4, and he's right around. Would you believe this? It's a great ride from Antonio Lindback, and Davey WATT there comes around, and Antonio looking for him with the rider in green, Morten RISAGER in 3rd place, trying to get amongst them. Jason Bunyan trailing at the back. Davey WATT, could he become the hero here? He's done nothing all night, but he's out in front now with Antonio Lindback covering on the inside. Davey WATT here, Morten RISAGER in 3rd place, trying for all he is worth. But a 5-1 here with just over a lap to go would mean that the Pirates would be in an unassailable position, and Davey WATT would go from villain to hero. But Morten RISAGER has other ideas. He's right around the outside. He's trying inside and out, and goes into the final turn with the 2 Pirates as they're coming up to the checkered flag. There's going to be an eruption here because the Pirates take a 5-1. A lot of that due, once again, to Antonio Lindback for a superb piece of team riding. Davey WATT had the guts and the spirit to raise his game from the very depths to a superb 5-1 there from the Pirates, who, would you believe this, trailing by no less than 10 points at the halfway stage. Now 46 points to 40 in the lead. The pressure's off in the nominated race because the Pirates are going to get the points, but how they've struggled.
There's a really that he could make sure he can be satisfied with his performance. He gets to win in heat number 14, and his time 61.24. Shall I say, Davey WATT gets to win in red, and his time.
So the nominated race brings out Jason Lyons and Ryan Sullivan for the Pirates, and they've got the 1-3 grid advantage, with Coventry electing to go for Andreas JONSSON, who rides in the green helmet, so he's between the 2 Pirates on grid 2, and his partner will be Stuart ROBSON in the yellow helmet on grid 4. And if you're wondering why Jason Lyons is on the track, the explanation seems to be that Bjarne PEDERSEN has not amassed sufficient points in the total to be eligible to go out, and that being the case, Poole have to nominate heat leader riders, so Ryan Sullivan and Jason Lyons it is, and but Bjarne PEDERSEN it is not. So that would have been another sting in the tail had the Pirates not had that match-saving 5-1 in Heat 14, but they did, and away they go in Heat 15 with Andreas JONSSON out in front from the tape, and Ryan Sullivan gets eclipsed by Stuart ROBSON there on the first bend, and Jason Lyons stuck between the two Bees. In fact, Stuart ROBSON comes around the outside of Jason Lyons for a potential Bees 5-1. Ryan Sullivan right at the back, Jason Lyons in third place, and it's just as well that the two young Pirates, Davey WATT and his partner Antonio Lindback, did get that 5-1 in Heat 14, because with half the race gone, the Bees are going to close it right up. It's going to be Poole 47, the Bees 45, with a lap to go, unless Ryan Sullivan can make some impression on Stuart ROBSON, which certainly does not appear to be doing. Then the Pirates are going to get home by the skin of their teeth. Of course, they won very comfortably with Tony Ricardson at the helm at Coventry, so they'll get the bonus point, but they've scraped home here by the slenderest of margins, just 2 points. The Bees take a 5-1 to finish. Andreas JONSSON just beaten once throughout the proceedings, and they take the 5-1 to make the final scoreline in this strange match between top and bottom of the table. But maybe that goes to show you, amongst other things, not only that Poole are struggling in the lower end, but also that this Sky Bet Elite League this season is ultra competitive, and we're having our fair share of last heat deciders.
Well, for the second week running, Poole get out of jail, as it were. Just 2 points in it tonight, and clearly there may well have to be work to be done in the Pirates camp. Well, even now as we speak and the match is over, there is work going on in the pits, with analysis going on to those riders. Dave Watt, Magnus ZETTERSTROM still staying on behind to work on their machines. Well, for this week, the Pirates will be travelling to Peterborough on Friday, and we'll be reporting upon that match when we come back next week, when we face Ipswich next Wednesday for the first visit of the Witches down here at Wimborne Road in 2004. So stay with us on Pirate Videos. Let's hope that the Pirates' fortunes will improve when we come back in 7 days' time.
All the action, all of the time.